In this episode of Bobscaping, we're looking at sealing cracks on a driveway where there's so many of them that it's actually impossible to use the standard gallon size products. So here we see extensive cracking. Some people call them alligator cracks. So today we're going to try two different products. The driveway's already been sealed with a latex sealer that did have some sand in it for traction. Always a good idea. And so today we're going to go back and go over the cracks with that same product, and while it's still moist, we're going to apply two different sand products. This one's called Black Beauty. It's kind of a black grit that you can buy in 80-pound bags. And then we also have our standard play sand, white play sand from one of the toy chains for sand boxes. Okay, so now we'll get started. I'm going to begin by pouring some sealer down this area of the cracks. I want to try to get enough, but not too much. Now we're going to use our applicator to fill in some of these cracks, actually a second time. Once that's pretty well smoothed out, then you want to take your grit product and apply it on top. This helps to kind of bulk up that sealer so it doesn't shrink quite as much as when it dries in those cracks. Okay, we're going to do some more of the cracks here in the worst areas. Try to get this worked back and forth into your holes and low spots, places the sealer has already shrunk. Now we're going to try this area with some play sand. See the difference. It feels a little bit finer than the Black Beauty. Seems to be getting absorbed by the sealer. And ideally you want to do this before you seal the whole driveway so you don't have so it doesn't stand out quite as much. So here we see the Black Beauty section. And again, that makes good traction in the winter time if you're walking, especially if it's icy. In this episode of Bobscaping, we're sealing a blacktop driveway with this latex sealer that was purchased at a big box store. These sell for about $16 for a 5-gallon bucket. We've already put on our old work clothes. Got old work boots, pants, shirt. You may even want to wear gloves. I tend to carry a moistened rag so I can wipe my hands off if necessary. And we're going to use this drywall bit attached to a large drill to mix our sealer. The key is you can't just turn it on and let it mix because it'll overflow the sides. So we usually use a alternating on and off. You also want to wipe the sides of the bucket with the bit because some of the sealer tends to stick to it. Here you can see we've already applied sealer to the top part of the driveway. We're working ourselves toward the back. So the next thing we want to do is pour some more sealer in a puddle That's about the right size there. You want to get enough that you have some to work with, but not so much that it's hard to work with. So we're going to go up along these cracks here where we've already started, and we're going to work it back and forth. This driveway is not completely level, so it's a little more difficult when you're positioning your brush. You have to kind of go across it instead of over parallel to the ridges.